If I could see me now as a kid, even in my 20s, I would have run. Not in a bad way, but I would have looked at this life and thought, there's no way that's me. Back then, my mornings looked completely different. I'd wake up already behind, rushing around the house, trying to get the kids ready, digging through a laundry basket to find something wearable. No system, no schedule, no real plan, and definitely no big dreams written down anywhere. My goals at that point in my life were simply to survive, get the kids to school on time, get myself to work on time, make it through the day, come home, feed everyone, do homework, do it all again. And that was it. And honestly, for a long time, I thought that's just adulthood. While schools changed, jobs changed, life completely shifted, I started noticing something happening in the background. I started developing wants, the quiet ones, the ones you don't say out loud yet, the things like, I want space, I want animals, I want a garden, I want to live a slower life. I want something that feels like ours. My husband and I always talked about it someday. We'll do it eventually. We'll get there one day. We just need more time. And did it happen right away? Absolutely not. We lived in a camper in his parents' backyard for a whole summer. A whole summer. It was not glamorous. It was not the dream, but it was one step closer to the house that we bought. In a trailer park, a tiny lot, no land, but it was still ours. Our first real sense of independence. We could paint it, decorate it, make our own decisions, get animals, some animals. And looking back now, with what I know now about homesteading, I would have started things so much earlier, because even though the space was small, there was still a sunny spot for a garden. There was still a balcony I could have used for containers or vertical gardening. I could have composted. I could have been learning. But when you don't know, you don't even know to research it. You don't even realize what's possible. We always wanted property though. So we started doing something that didn't exactly feel exciting at the time. We started saving. Not huge amounts, nothing dramatic, just small, consistent decisions. And it was years before anything came from it. And then one day, someone on my husband's side of the family approached us and was like, hey, we're moving. You want to buy our house? We weren't even actually looking at the time, but we said yes. And that house, this house, it's not massive. It wasn't some dream farmhouse, but it was just a little bit bigger than the trailer we already had. But the space, oh my gosh, the front yard alone was bigger than the entire lot we had in that trailer park. It already had a fenced pasture, a garden area, and would you believe it, the first animals we got were cows? Husband's idea, not mine. I don't think it could handle looking at an empty pasture, but those cows were our first real lessons. That pasture needed updating badly, and Houdini earned his name accordingly. I don't know how many times we had to walk him back down the road and back onto our property, but I was terrified. I had zero experience with animals, let alone animals that were 5 times my size. I was constantly convinced I was gonna get ran over, but we figured it out. Not overnight and not perfectly, but one fix at a time, one step at a time. Back to the cows later, but then I got chickens. And I knew I wanted more than 6 chickens, but I started with 6. There was an old rabbit hutch on the property. I turned it into a makeshift coop with a little scrappy run attached to it. Was it Pinterest perfect? Absolutely not. Did it work? Absolutely. And right there is where the micro habits started changing everything, because here's the thing that people don't see when they look at a homestead. They think it happened in like one leap, one big decision, one big move, one big transformation. But it was one chicken at a time, one garden bed at a time, one walk down the road with the cow at a time, one skill at a time. Micro habits built this life, not giant ones. Tiny ones. The kind that don't feel life-changing in the moment. Things like watching a YouTube video about chickens, planting 1 container of tomatoes, saving $20 instead of spending it, reading a book about animals, noticing how they behave. And that's it. Over and over and over. People think motivation builds this life, but it doesn't. Consistency does. And consistency is usually boring. It looks like feeding the animals when you're tired, watering the plants when it's way too hot outside, fixing something that you just fixed last week. It's not glamorous, it's repetitive, but it compounds. And one day you look up and your life looks completely different. And not because everything changed at once, but because you kept showing up for yourself in small ways. And here's the part that I wish someone had told me back then, that you don't need land to start. You don't need acres of land, fancy tools, experience, and a plan for the next 10 years. You just need a starting point, because starting teaches you what to do next. If I had started earlier in that trailer park house, one garden, one compost bucket, one skill at a time, I would have learned so much more, so much sooner, and I would be in a completely different space in my life. But again, you don't know what you don't know, and I'm not upset with the way everything turned out. That's why I like talking about micro habits so much now, because they're not overwhelming, they're doable, and they work because life gets busy. And you don't have to overhaul your entire life. You just have to start researching, start observing, start trying, start small, and that's it. And over time, all these tiny actions build your confidence, they build knowledge, they build momentum, and eventually you build the life that you used to think was out of reach for you. If younger me could see me now, the animals, the garden, the systems, the routines, the goals, me talking in front of the camera, she wouldn't recognize me, because back then I wasn't dreaming about a homestead. I was just trying to make it through the day. And that's why I want people to understand this. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to feel confident. You don't have to have everything all mapped out. You just have to take one small step, and then another, and then another, because this for me didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to happen overnight for you either. If you keep stacking micro habits, one day you're going to look around and realize that you built something real, not in one giant leap, but in 1,000 tiny ones. And those are the ones that stick. If you're in that phase right now where life feels busy, messy, like you're in survival mode, just start small. Start learning, start observing, start before you're ready, because that's how this begins. Not with a plan, but with one small habit repeated time and time again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining me.